This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Monday, July 15th, 2019, episode 235. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. I'm on Gab at gab.com/Nick. And of course, our website is infectionpodcast.com. It's a Monday, but just because it's a Monday doesn't mean Brian, who put the I in Mondays, is here. Hello, Brian. How are you doing on this Mondays?
I am doing wonderful. I don't remember what you said that people never say. I think it was like fantastic or whatever it was last time. You had somebody said that they were magical or something ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody was fantastic. I was like, God, you're not
doing fantastic.
You're lying.
I am fantastic. How's that?
You know, you're lying.
Well, if you want to find me, I'm at Boise Computer on Twitter. Not a 4-letter domain like Nick's Gab.
Hey, hot stuff. I was like I was user number like 20 on that site. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think mine's that short, but if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com, and then our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you look on the right-hand side there, we have our join Discord server. That's a place, if you want to submit news to us that we discuss on the show, that's a good place to do that. Also, we've been playing more games on Friday nights now that we officially don't have a Friday night game night. Imagine that. And so if you want to join in on that, you can join us on Discord. We have a Steam group. If you join that, you can jump in and get a notification right before this live show starts. So perhaps you were not. Nick's showing us his orders. He's ordering the
Razor blade
as we go.
It's in fact gone. Travesty.
And if you want to get a notification, perhaps because you were at your computer on a Monday, you would have gotten a notification of this show. But also, we have our support us tab, and that's on the left-hand side. You can support us through Humble Bundle. You can support us through Amazon, through links. If you're going to buy a big laptop or something.
That's not funny.
Also, we have links to our Twitch, our YouTube, our audio-only formats, and then show notes for every single episode up to this point. So,
yes,
go to our website, easy to use, and free, just like the show.
I will apologize for all of the Tuesday listeners. I have a scheduling conflict. I said this in the pre-show. I'll say it again. Probably would have been able to do the show tomorrow night, but there's a possibility I wouldn't have been able to, and I'm not available Wednesday, and that just sucks if Brian does all the prep and everybody's expecting a show on Tuesday, and then at like 6:50, I'm like, can't do it. That's pretty inconsiderate. So, doing it on a Monday, Brian's been flexible, which I appreciate. And if you're here tuning in live, we appreciate it as well. It's always interesting when we do a Monday show, we get some, it seems like we always have more viewers on a Monday show than we do on a Tuesday. Yeah. And then we're like, oh, we'll do the show on Monday. And everybody's like, no, we're not do it on Tuesday. So we're doing the shows on Tuesdays. But just this week.
Well, as I said, just like our game of the week, when we say no game of the week, everybody shows up for game of the week.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We played some people say, oh, no, not a video game. We played some League over the weekend, and we had a pretty good time with that, with their new team fight mode. And I don't want to hear we played it. I mean, we played a lot of it. So played a lot of League, played some Dead by Daylight, which was a lot of fun. The Freddy rework is on the test server. I am a hypocrite. I do not play on test servers. I leave that to other people, and then I report the news. So I'm immune to this, being a video game journalist. So I don't have to worry about playing on. That's for the plebeians here. Us elite journalists like you and I, Brian, don't have to worry about doing that. So we did that. Did we play anything else? I don't think so.
I think that was it.
Yeah, so we did that over the weekend. It was good. And again, it's the same thing as we move forward through the summer. Just show up, and if you're playing something, let people know. And we had we must have had 5 or 6 people, probably 5 people playing that team fight mode. It was either on Friday or Saturday night, so that worked out pretty well. I also played another game, Brian.
What did you play?
I don't think you've looked at our show notes. I've added this game. I was sent this link by
I see it in there.
by our good friend Sean. I purchased for $13.99 Storm Chasers on Steam. And I'll tell you what, I had a fantastic time playing it. Look at this. Look at the tornado. You take pictures of tornadoes and get points. That's the whole point of the game. And there's probes that you can put on the ground. And it's very, look at this. This is just amazing. I don't regret it. Look at this. This is what you do. You literally take pictures and get points for taking pictures. It's really fantastic. And you can die. You can run out of gas. I would say it's definitely a survival game. Your car gets damaged. This house is getting destroyed. It's definitely definitely a survival game. The map, incredibly small. The boundaries are literally brick walls you just hit. But they're not actual brick walls. They're just invisible lines that you just smash into at 100 miles an hour. There's hail. The hail hurts you, so you have to watch out for the hail. It's a great game. There's a multiplayer. Look at this. Apparently, I haven't played the multiplayer yet, but there's a multiplayer. Apparently, there's leaderboards. I'm top 25. Not trying to brag or anything. It was a good game. If you're a weather nerd, Storm Chasers is the best $12.99 you could ever spend. So,
I think so we talk about niches and like we're a podcast for a niche. Like that's even a bigger niche. If you are a weather nerd,
smaller niche.
Well,
actually, I disagree.
More of a niche.
Weather itself is a much larger.
There's a lot of people who track weather.
Yeah, much larger community. By the way, there's like 3 games in development right now for this same concept. It's got games been out for about 3 weeks. It's got 93 reviews on Steam. 84% are positive. This is marketed towards a specific group of people. So, if you're a weather nerd, if you're a weather enthusiast, it's kind of a fun game. So, the guys that are making it are weather nerds. You're throwing them a couple bucks. I mean, it's not $13
so what
to
you
me.
Need
is
is
not changing.
You need an augmented reality.
I think it's set up.
You can go outside, but I'm saying like go outside and like you look at your phone and like there's a giant weather thing you have to track down. So you have to drive over there, like Green Man saying, Pokemon,
the old man Aldridge here, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard it.
Pokemon that these kids are playing with their dinosaurs.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can do Pokemon where you have to go to a place and like track down a weather phenomenon that you then have to take a picture of.
Yeah.
And you get points for it.
I mean, understood. This is a good intermediate step. I can sit in the comfort of my house where it's not 100. It was, by the way, 107 degrees out today here.
Oh yeah, Pokemon is the streamer. That's right.
I can sit in my house.
I said Pokemon.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll tell you what. This game is pretty intense. I mean, look at this screenshot. Look at this. I mean, this is pretty intense. I mean, I had a really good time. For what it is, very simple game. But I'll tell you what, Brian. You look at this game, right? And your initial impression is, come on. But in the very little bit of, and I mean very little bit of work I've done in the Unity engine and watching you do all of the work that you've done in the Unreal engine, as basic and as simple as this looks, probably if not close to hundreds of hours worth of work came close to making this happen.
Yeah.
You don't just whip this together. I mean, it's
probably more than that. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny to say, oh, it's not Grand Theft Auto, and it's not. It's not going to be, but I believe it's one guy. And by the way, the coolest part of the game. You want to hear the coolest part of the game?
All right, let's hear this.
This is what sold me. Literally, this is what sold me. There is a text file that you can put internet radio streams into, and then you can play them in your car. So I was jamming out to some yacht rock when I was chasing down these tornadoes, listening to Steely Dan and all these other great bands like Fleetwood Mac, Boss Skaggs, the whole crew. It was great. Mm-hmm. Literally, that was the reason that I bought this game. Sean goes, I was like, Sean, I'm not interested in this. He goes, it's got editable FM radio stations. I said, sold. You can ask him. True story. He'll attest to it at PAX.
That's ridiculous.
So
hey, at least you got something.
Here's the thing, though. And again, let's talk about this realistically. This guy making this game, clearly some type of weather nerd, clearly making a game about it. I'm a weather nerd. Give him a couple bucks. he's put a whole bunch of time into this game and made it happen. It's not a life-changing amount of money for me. It's not a life-changing amount of money for him, but it's, you know, you got to support the people that are in your own thing. Exactly.
It might make it motivate him to update it to make, because I mean, part of it is he's got the base concept there. Like you said, you enjoy the play of it. And so he could then go in and start improving the graphics and performance and do all that.
Yeah. For what it was, I played for, I don't know, maybe an hour. And I was like, oh, this was fun. I'll go back and play it again. I got to boost myself up on the leaderboard. So I got some more missions to do. By the way,
you want to know something?
You want to know the actual mechanic of the game is focusing the camera. It's like, is the big part. Because it's not autofocus. You got to move your focus.
So you have to.
And it's a lot more complicated when you're getting hit by hail.
You have to get the best shot.
Yeah, and there's trees in the way. It's a little more complicated than it may sound.
So you have to drive to the prime spot.
Yeah, and
without getting killed.
Yeah, but I did drive my car into a tornado. It did not end well. I did get killed. You can see there's the way this works. There's a little weather radar in the dash of your vehicle, and it'll say like there's a tornado to your south, and you drive down there and you can just check it out. You take some pictures, you get some gas, you repair your vehicle. It's a good time. I had a good time. Yeah. Storm Chasers on Steam. We'll do a current player numbers coming up at the end of the show, so stick tuned for that.
So I told my mom about some game when we were in Hawaii. Like I told her about some word game.
Storm
on the phone.
Chaser.
No, but I talked to her this past week, and she's telling me about how she's entering in these tournaments in it in the weekends and doing all this crazy stuff. She's like, they only have like 6,000 levels, and so I don't know if it's 1,000 or 6,000 levels or whatever. She says, I think it was 6,000. She's like, I reached level 6,000 and I thought the game was going to be done. And she says, and there's more levels after that. I was like, oh my goodness. And remember when I went to Hawaii?
What game is this?
It's like it's Wordscape. So
what is
you have to find the words.
It's a crossword puzzle?
Yeah, it has a bunch of letters on there and you have to make words out of it.
Oh, that's not a crossword puzzle. That's called something else.
Yeah, Wordscape is the name of the game, but she's like maxed it out, and she says she's entering tournaments, and she always gets like whatever position. Like she's telling me about what place and she's like, I had to do it on the weekend, so I had to save all these points for like this time and do. It's ridiculous. She plays more games than I do now.
Pro gamer.
Yeah.
She watched the podcast.
She's like in the top. She's like one of the top. No, I don't think I could get. She would. I don't think I want to tell her how to get here.
You don't want to be like,
I don't want her in chat.
You don't
hi.
You don't want her to be like, oh, my son is a failure. He's a podcaster.
Yeah. I don't want to disappoint her in life. And so I am not going to tell my mom how to find this podcast.
Mom, I'm a podcaster. Oh, the humanity.
The problem is that she would come in. Yeah, my mom is nice. The problem is she would come in and like listen to every show, watch every show.
Nothing wrong with that. We're a family-friendly show here.
And then PH would say something highly inappropriate to her, and then I'd have to decide: is PH allowed anymore to be in our chat?
Yes, absolutely.
I know.
Why would you single him out? That's discrimination.
Because I know PH.
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
Hey, Valp, thank you for the subscription here on Twitch with the message, hey, Mom, with a heart. So, Valp coming in with a subscription. Thanks, my man. Appreciate it. Coming up here in like a month and probably like 7 days, we are going to be out in the great state of, well, semi-great state. No, not really. We're going to be out in Washington. And we're going Washington state, and we're going to fly into Tacoma, a little south of Seattle, and we're going to head on up to PAX West 2019. I think we've got everything all squared away. I just got to figure out how to fit all of my things I need to bring and an entire audio and video studio into my single, not checked carry-on luggage. So that's my struggle going forward.
And we need to make sure that we need to make sure that we have everything. We need to make sure everything's ready to go.
We need to do a meeting.
This we need to sit down and discuss everything and make sure that everything's ready to go, so that 1 week from we're like, oh, do we have this? Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, we need to get those dog tags. Yeah. Those take like 3 weeks.
So we should do a meeting before this weekend, by this weekend.
Jay Delory says a month and 7 days, so like 5 weeks. Yes, Jay Delory, I'm a little autistic. Leave me alone. Okay. So that's what I did over the weekend. Played some Storm Chasers, some League, some Dead by Daylight. Had a grand old time with it. Other than that, It's really hot down here in Wilmington, but I mean, that's about it. What's going on in my world?
Yep.
I do want to talk about, Brian. Let's start out because we typically start off the show with some more general gaming topics if they're available. And there is one this week. This is a game that we've actually, and I say we, I mean our community, has been tracking for a while now in our Discord. And if you're not in our Discord, you're making a huge mistake. Top quality memes, lots of nonsense, very crazy videos. All that stuff is being posted. And the link for that is on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. We'd love to have you. And it really is a 24/7 community in there. People are, I mean, we've got people all across the world that are posting it. My time, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I wake up for work at 5:45. People are posting from overseas. So it's really great. You should join our Discord. But there's this game that they've been following called Raw, and I've been keeping an eye on it. It's essentially if GTA RP was its own game. This is what they're trying to recreate. It's called Raw, RAW, and they label it as a sandbox MMORPG game with attention to realism. So imagine a more in-depth, well, I don't even know. I guess a little more realistic Grand Theft Auto RP mode, but it's its own standalone game. So with that being said, that's the premise. I don't know when this started. I can find out really quick.
So I mean, it's not that it's more realistic. The thing is it's more customizable, I would say.
Okay.
If you've ever done any kind of modding for the GTA role playing,
Yep.
the scripting is limited to what the engine allows, first of all, and it's not really easy to do. I mean, you have some limitations that you're kind of stuck to. And so it looks like we can play that. Do you want to play the video that they have that kind of shows that?
Yeah, I don't want
to
play the talking particularly, but we could play a little bit of the video while we talk about it. So this this was announced June 16th. We were recording the show on the 15th, so it would have been 30 days. It'll be 30 days from tomorrow, our regularly scheduled show day. And they had a goal of $79,000, which for a video game, as we've seen in the past, Brian, and I know you're dabbling in this a little bit, $80,000 after you get it in the door.
Pay licensing fees and pay all the different things.
You don't pay a single employee pretty much after you deal with licensing fees and everything like that. You're not making any money with this. It may cover some of your base expenses. Kickstarter takes 5% as PH notes, so the 5% of that is gone. I don't know how that works.
The engine will take like 5%.
Well, I don't know how that works with taxes. It is income, so I guess if they're in the U.S., it's being taxed at probably business income, probably 35%. So nevertheless,
but they're out of Germany, so I'm not sure what they're. But
True.
I don't know if they're having to pay. I don't know how Kickstarter, if they're charging them the German taxes, or if because they're based out of the United States, they're charging the United States taxes.
A low amount of money, nevertheless, with or without taxes, a very small amount of money to make what they are claiming is an MMO RPG version of GTA with incredible realism. That's what they're saying. Now, by the way, GTA games are in development for sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Costs Rockstar hundreds of millions of dollars to develop, and these guys wanted to do it on $79,000. Now, we all know where that goes. So let's flash forward to just a couple days ago. The Kickstarter is doing very well. They've raised almost $190,000 as of a couple days ago. Seems to be going pretty well, right?
Yeah.
That's all fine and dandy. Now, there is a lot of drama with this because they have shown nothing in the sort of gameplay. And apparently the game has been in the works for 2.5 years, and all they have shown are pre-rendered videos like this, which looks great. But this is as produced as a movie. I mean, there's none of this is realistic in actual gameplay. I mean, this is a very highly stylized, highly edited, rendered,
Highly scripted.
with incredibly high resolution video that is pre-produced. They've shown no gameplay, and there's lots of criticism over that, justifiably, right? Why are you going to donate to a project when, as we've seen, one person ruins it for all? We've seen hundreds of these projects never show any
Yeah.
gameplay and then fail to deliver on their promises. Okay, so let's go back just a couple hours before doing the show. Finally doing a Monday show works out for us, Brian. We finally got some breaking news on our hands. They published a post on Kickstarter a couple of weeks ago. Probably, I think it was maybe a week and a half ago. And part of that post, this is a quote from their update number 3 that they posted. It said, "Of course, we need a lot more than $79,000. The minimum comfort amount, being amount of money to minimum amount to be comfortable, is about $300,000. So you're talking over 200 times more than their Kickstarter goal was, and that was the baseline minimum. And I believe that. I would say that 300,000 is probably low because again, they are trying to make an MMO sandbox open GTA style game. I mean, you're talking
It's
about
going to require servers and all kinds of things.
You're talking about an incredible amount of technology, a very advanced game that they're trying to develop. So 300,000, in my opinion, they're not even making the game anyway. Well, it turns out, Brian, and I didn't know this. I've never done a Kickstarter, but it turns out you can't have a Kickstarter in which you say we will deliver a game and not have the now, by the way, there's a couple things. Kickstarter works a couple different ways. If you have the full intentions of delivering a product, you can you do your Kickstarter. If you don't deliver the product, you don't deliver the product. You don't get your money back. And it can be kind of a throwaway. I don't know if you have, Brian, but I've Kickstarted a couple of projects, small amounts, $25, $30, $40. I've never gotten it. And it's, you're kind of gambling with, as you talk about loot box gambling, you're kind of gambling with your money on Kickstarter. But those projects never publicly disclose, we have no intention of actually doing this because we don't have the money. These guys published as part of their update on Kickstarter that this $79,000, which ended up being $193,000, was not enough, even a minimum amount of making the game possible. Turns out that's against Kickstarter's terms of service. This is a quote now from a Kickstarter representative. Our rules and guidelines asks that creators seek to raise the amount of money needed to bring a project to completion and fulfill all rewards. This creator, being Raw, this creator stated in an update that they would need to raise additional funds outside of Kickstarter to complete the game. We require projects to be honest and clearly presented. This project failed to meet that standard. The project has been suspended on Kickstarter, and anybody that kickstarted the project has received an email. By the way, you don't get charged until the end of the funding date, which was later this week. So everybody got an email that said your your pledge has been canceled. If you somehow were charged, your money was refunded, but nobody was, so no money will be taken out of your account. And now this game, Raw, has just lost out on $193,546 because, in my opinion, they have no idea what they're doing. They have clearly no legal representation. They've got no general counsel. They clearly didn't even know the terms of service of using the platform that they were using to raise $200,000. Is what it seems to me. But it is literally in their terms of service. You cannot do this, and they publicly posted on Kickstarter that this is what they were going to do.
Yeah, and I think that they could have, if they would have known the restrictions, right? They could have said, here is the game that you will receive for the $80,000 about, right? So $79,000. For $79,000, you will receive a game that has these features. Now, that's not what we're wanting. We want to raise more than that, and we want to provide you with these additional features. The problem is they said, we are going to make this game. It will take this, they stated it. If they wouldn't have said it, I'm sure none of this would have happened, but they stated, to make the game actually work, we need $300,000. Do you think, I don't know. I think that this is kind of borderline though, because they said they could have just changed one word, said to make the game we want to make would be $300,000. And I don't think that Kickstarter would have kicked them off for that.
Well, they would. Well, yes and no, because the problem is, for when you were pledging to this project, when you said, hey, I'm going to give you let me pull up what one of the tiers were. When you went to the Kickstarter website and said, I want to pledge, let's see, what was the minimum copy? $28 US gave you the minimum copy of the game. And that was an estimated delivery date of December of 2019. So December of this year. If they only raised 80,000, they would not have been able to fulfill that promise. So no, I agree with you on the wording aspect, but they but they wouldn't have been able to do it because they wouldn't have reached their goal. So that was the problem.
But what I'm saying is if they would have worked their tiers better, their stretch goals better, and said, here's the minimum and here's what you'll get for that. And they stated it will be a bare bones system.
Yeah.
But we want more than that because we want to provide you with, and then promote we want, a bigger map. We want helicopters, planes. Like they have all that listed on there, but they really should have just said, they should have promised a small thing and then said, but if we reach funding, we will deliver this. And, $200,000, they would have reached, three quarters. They did, they reached 3/4 of the things that they promised on their stretch goals.
And again, Brian, this comes down to clearly nobody there, no sort of legal mind at all. Nobody that had a game plan of how they were actually going to make this project work. I get the idea of making a low Kickstarter because we've seen games. What was the most recent one we saw that was so short on It's Funny? It literally raised like $2,000. It was some kind of game. I don't remember. Somebody in the chat help us out. But there was a game, and their goal was like, it looked crazy. It was something like $200,000, and they only raised $2,000. So I can understand the visual aspect and the PR aspect of having a logo like $80,000, right? Because not that that's impossible, not that that's not a lot of money, but that's reasonable to raise on Kickstarter. 300,000 is a big, very successful Kickstarter.
That's a shot. Yeah, that's a shot in the dark as far as, and you want to, I mean, the thing is they should have accepted that here's the minimum amount. If we don't make funding, because they're saying that, all right, we're going to make the game anyways,
which is ridiculous.
Well, they should have just gone through and said, if we don't make funding, then we won't make funding and we'll figure out another way. But here's what we need to make the minimum version of the game that we'd be willing to hand you.
So Alex Trotikov, who is one of the representatives here, this happened like 8 hours ago. He posted on Kickstarter as the developer, guys, expect our message about the current situation in Discord. Shitstarter, which is making fun of, obviously, a switcheroo on the service Kickstarter, closed the project without even trying to figure out what was going on. The gameplay video, again, coming back to that, the gameplay video was almost finished. We will continue the project anyway because a huge amount of effort has already been invested into it. Please don't listen to a bunch of offended by life idiots and their bullshit. This is a quote now from this guy. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for your support in your faith in us. I mean, you want to talk about like level of unprofessionalism. They willingly broke Kickstarter's terms of service because they want to say that people that are talking bad about this are offended by life idiots and spewing bullshit. These guys don't even know how to read the terms of service of a site that they're using to raise $200,000. So if you want to talk about idiots and bullshit and being a total moron, like, turn the microscope 180 degrees, Brian. It's on you.
Yeah. Because
you willingly and posted on Kickstarter that you were going to break their terms of service. So just an incredibly unprofessional response on Kickstarter. They, of course, deleted that post. Daria, who is another representative for the game, posted on Discord hey, so it's Daria here. At the moment, we are very upset about the situation. Yeah, I mean, you imagine Brian, imagine logging into your bank account
the day before.
Imagine like logging into your bank account and be like, oh, I'm going to go buy a new TV, right? And be like, I have $0. Like that's essentially what happened to these guys. So Daria, the community manager here, posts on Discord, their Discord. At the moment, we are all very upset about this situation, and we need time to understand how to proceed it. But in any case, the first task is to release the gameplay for you. Again, everything spirals around this gameplay. We will also try to send screenshots and report what is being done. Of course, we could have done this before, but each of our updates would look like 7:15:19, Alex is writing code, 7:16:19, Alex is writing code. You think that you worked only an hour, but it turns out it's been a whole day. We understand all the skepticism. It's fully justified, but the two of them cannot give everything at once. Considering the current situation, we will certainly try to give more information. What about Alex said on Kickstarter? Sorry, he shouldn't. He was very upset about what's happening and emotions took over. We're really sorry about that. By the way, he should send some screenshots of what he does. You can say these are just words again, but we made mistakes, and these mistakes costed us $200,000, and we will not allow it again. Best regards. So, I mean, this is like amateur hour over here, Brian. I mean, that's what you're seeing going on here. And I get it. I would be very pissed too if somebody was like, imagine having the winning Powerball ticket, going in there, scanning it and being like, "Oh my God, you won $100 million or something," and then you go to the photo op with the big old check, and they're like, "Actually, no, the money doesn't exist." You'd be pretty pissed. Well, but these people did it for themselves. There's a lot of stuff
they could do.
Yeah, there
is.
The
thing is, they could have gotten themselves out of this by, even if they just went on Twitch and streamed some content.
They don't have any
a
content.
Little bit. Well, but if they had content, they could have gone and just even streamed the current state of the game, and that would have been enough. The problem is they've shown no code, and that's where, as you said, that's where Kickstarter's upset.
Well,
and they promised that they would deliver a video before the end of the Kickstarter, and they said no, not 5 minutes before. We'll do it earlier than that. Okay, well, they haven't delivered it, and it's 24 hours.
Well, the Kickstarter was supposed to end tomorrow, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like within 24 hours, and they still haven't delivered this video. They said, "Oh, we're not going to do it 5 minutes before the end of the Kickstarter." Well, you're getting pretty close.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to do that, and that's right about where they're at right now. So I don't know.
So
I don't know where this will go. It'll be interesting to see if they actually do move forward with this, if they can show a little bit of content.
Well, and at this point, I mean, and by the way, this is not a survival game. We understand, but we'll transition this conversation into what this may mean for other projects. But again, we talk about skepticism, Brian. Why is there skepticism on Kickstarters in early access? Because of these morons, these people that just they screwed themselves. There is nobody, not a single, and they said Kickstarter didn't give us a warning. You don't get a warning when you breach terms of service. If you go in and kill somebody, Brian, if I come to your house and kill you, they'll be like, "Oh, the police didn't warn me. I couldn't kill Brian." Well, it's illegal. You can't kill people. It's the law. I mean, you need a written serve. The Kickstarter need to come to you guys and say, "Hey, you broke our terms of service." No, you broke the terms of service. You willingly broke the terms of service. It's not like it was a private conversation. If it was a DMs that were leaked or private Discord messages that were leaked between one person and a developer, that's one thing. Right. And then if it got back to Kickstarter, I would absolutely say Kickstarter would 100% have to reach out to them, get clarification, and see what's going on before doing something. But they posted on Kickstarter that they did not have enough money with Kickstarter to actually complete the project. So, I mean, why do you need a warning, Brian? Am I crazy in thinking that? You don't get a warning when you knowingly break. You don't get a warning for speeding after you're speeding.
No, you can try to ask for forgiveness, but you don't get.
No, the speed limit's 40 and you're going 90. You broke the law. Yeah. You don't get a warning. This warning is the speed limit sign. The warning in this case is the terms of service. You're ignorant. You're stupid. You're a moron. You're a jackass. You're the one spewing bullshit, not us. I mean, come on.
PH did point out that they did see. I didn't see this here. That they said that it'll be in 2 more days that they have the video now.
So after
it's going to be the day after the Kickstarter would have ended. That's when they're providing the gameplay video, which wouldn't allow people to go in reverse, because it's not going to look like those videos. First of all,
are you kidding me? It's going to look like that ARC video. It's going to be the ARC trailer versus ARC gameplay. Everybody's seen the video. You know what I'm talking about with the horns and everything.
Or the one with the
The Atlas.
No Man's Sky.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
where
That's good too. Yeah.
it shows that one video of it coming in, and it's a beautiful scene with all these dinosaurs. It's just like Jurassic Park, and then there's the generated gameplay that they created. I think that it'll probably be closer to that but you have a lot of people that are really into RP that are looking at those, and I see all those cutscenes, and those, just like in GTA Online and with the role playing, like you've seen all of these GTA cutscenes and how everything looks so good. You've never seen anywhere in GTA Online that you're watching on Twitch anything that looks like any of those cutscenes. You see people doing emotes and doing all whatever crazy things. That'll be kind of probably the difference between this and those cutscenes.
Yeah, I mean, it is not going to be. It's not going to be anything similar.
But I think the graphics are going to be a lot worse. I mean, because as you said in the beginning, they are rendering those.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
It takes time. It looks, with the lighting and everything else, what you have in real time, and especially then turn around and what you're doing online will look very different.
I mean, you'll need a $20,000 computer to play this. Look at the lighting effects. I mean, there is not a chance. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that somebody like me with a, what do I have, a 10? What do you have? You have a 10. You have a 27. You have a 2080.
1080.
You have a 1080. I have a 1060, I think, or a 1070. There's not a chance in hell I'd be able to play this game. And again, I'm not saying I have the top of the line video card, but this game's not going to look anything like this. Nothing like this. You will not be able to run this game. You won't run this game at 5 frames a second with this look. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Look
at this. Look at all the lights. Come on.
Yeah. And the sparks there, like, it's just
bullshit is what it is. So, and again,
can you go back to the spark effect?
Yeah, hold on. By the way, for the audio audience, you can find this links on our website, infectionpodcast.com. It should be right after this.
So, like, these effects, like, this will all be local stuff, because all these little things that you're seeing the second that you try to replicate all this, so you'll start seeing variations, which I guess doesn't matter a huge amount when you're doing role playing so much. But the second that you start doing like those sparks and everything, this will all be local effects. Like, you're not going to see the exact same things as the other person.
No, but
is understandable. I mean, but there will be inconsistencies because there's a lot of detail going on here.
This actually, Brian, this is interesting because it is kind of like a No Man's Sky situation. Who do you fault with this? You obviously fault the developers for being morons. But in the same regard, I mean, and I'm not going after these almost 4,000 people that backed this project, but come on, anybody with anything could look at this and just see it's probably not going to be what it looks like on the outside. I mean, is it going to necessarily be? Is it going to be the game that we saw in that trailer day one? No, not every game is not. Most games are not, but. This is way too sky in the high of an idea.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Again, I'm
mean,
not
it'd
an expert.
It'd be great if somebody made it, but the thing is
yeah, but guess who has to make it, Brian? Rockstar or Bethesda or Activision or Blizzard. What? So a couple of people in Germany.
What about GTA 6? I mean, I think that this is the direction that GTA 6 is going. We've talked about it before with their online. I think that they are moving in that direction. Of creating this type of an experience that's much more flexible that will allow people to do this.
I would agree completely.
Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
Hey, thank you, Joe, for the resubscription here. 17 months in a row. I'm here. Thank you, Joe.
True OG.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a true OG. No, I agree, Brian. I think this would be a great direction, especially because you want to talk about always online, which these big companies love always online. This is absolutely the move, and I think you will see this in GTA 6 specifically because of the popularity of the GTA RP scene and these streamers that have got servers with wait lists and premiums and all this other nonsense.
I think you'll start seeing official mods, kind of similar to what Fallout did. I think you will see a kind of official mod, because what's the issue that you run into the second that you start modding on any kind of a platform like this?
Like GTA, you get sued.
Well, but the main thing is on consoles, you don't have the ability to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
because you can't load your own mods into a console, so you're always having to wait for PC. Well, if GTA, if Rockstar created an official mod program, they would allow people to create servers that they can load those and people could play on consoles.
Well,
They could do modded servers.
We've seen that with the most recent Fallout game with their workshop, which has got a lot of criticism. Again, I'm not talking about that specifically, but we've seen that implemented. So, moral of the story here, as it has always been, don't fund projects that, I mean, you literally have nothing. And PH has posted a couple screenshots in here. Yeah, there's some folders, there's some assets, there's some models, but come on. I mean, to make the complexity of game they're trying to make is...
there should be demos, tech demos, or things that they've shown. Like, here's us doing this. Like, it's just strange that they haven't made a single video showing any of it.
Well, here's the thing.
Any of the actual mechanics.
Apparently, it's like a few guys doing this, and
still should be videos.
Well, there should be, unless you're not actually getting anything done, because two people can't. I mean, Rockstar's got hundreds and hundreds of people, and it takes 6 years to make the game.
But they've done an excellent job of making.
It's two guys.
The assets are there, right?
Well, yeah, but how many of those are purchased?
Well, I mean, but that's not really the point. You could, if you could make the mechanics, that's where it comes down to the coding. If you could make the mechanics worth it with purchased assets to where people looked past it, as you said, with your weather game, it's the mechanic for you that's fun.
Oh yeah.
For 7 Days to Die, it's the mechanic that's fun. You ignore the graphics because the mechanics are good. If they could make something that's truly fun, people wouldn't care if that was the same asset that they saw somewhere else. And then they could start throwing in their own.
Well, they would though, Brian, because the title of the game is a sandbox MMORPG with an attention to realism. They have set it's two guys according to PH, and that would add up with the community developers. What they said, it's the two guys. So two guys, I'm supposed to believe with $300,000, two guys were going to make a game that is 100 times bigger than Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I'm no expert in the field, Brian, but that just seems, I don't know, a little unrealistic. Maybe that's like us saying we're going to have this show on DirecTV next week.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
All we need is $200,000.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Except satellite uplink is like $200,000 a month. And you need a whole studio, and you need hardware, and I mean that would just be insane. It's insane.
Do you think that this is Kickstarter finally trying to save their reputation? Because
no,
it seems like they've done nothing up to this point.
Well, this is what I asked earlier in Discord, and again, it's a couple guys talking. I wasn't expecting anybody to come back with this. I am sure these are not the first people that have done this.
Yeah.
And I just think they're the first one that it's getting enforced on. And if that's the case, that sure sucks to be them, but it doesn't change the fact that they still broke the terms of service. So is this I don't know, Brian. At this point, because
most people don't have faith in Kickstarter anymore for digital products. I think that some people have faith in a physical product because there's a very definite delivery, right?
Yeah, look at this.
You can say, this delivered and I got it. Yeah. I mean, I think there's faith for that because there is a definite end, but I think people have lost faith in software because it just gets dragged so much over time. I bought my doorbell through Indiegogo.
Oh, really?
Or not my doorbell. I bought my my door lock, my front door lock through Indiegogo. And the thing works great.
Yeah, because it's an actual product. Yeah.
Yeah, I think physical products do much better.
This is a
because it comes down to an engineer designing something, and if you like what he designed, give him some money and he'll get it manufactured.
Well, here's the other thing too, and by the way, this is a Dutch oven we're looking at. Its goal is 75,000, 81,000 has been raised. It's got 11 days to go. This will pass. This is the other thing too. When you are if you do your research, and I've got a little bit of experience with this, if you are manufacturing a physical product, your costs are very clearly laid out beforehand because
you can go and get quotes.
Well, you do.
You can go to China and you do all that stuff to get the exact amounts.
Like, for example, we bought T-shirts for PAX last year, or 2 years ago. I went to 3 or 4 different companies locally, and I said, this is what I want. I want 2 colors stitched. I want it in this thing. I want black shirts. Great. I was able to shop around. We knew our costs. So when we were setting up our first a campaign to go to PAX in 2017, we knew our costs. We knew we had to buy a tripod. We knew we had some camera equipment, some lights, some microphone, mic flags, all this stuff. We knew what our costs were. And with physical products, it's a lot easier to know your costs. You outsource it, you figure out who can make it at the best price, and you pad in a little bit of room to make sure you can make it happen. But you know your costs. But with digital goods, you don't know. We're going to talk about a game later that had a multiplayer server issues for 2 weeks and could not find the solution to the problem. How do you plan for that? It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So with a lot of, I think this is not that it can't happen with physical products, but with digital products, costs are not clearly laid out because you don't know. You don't know until you're going to buy something. If you're going to make an iron Dutch oven, you figure out how much it costs to make each one, then you set up your Kickstarter, you're good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian, if I was to ask you tomorrow, how much is it going to cost to finish your game, the game that you're working on, your survival game? How much? You can't estimate the price. You can throw a number at me. It's useless. How much is it going to cost you?
Because you don't know. There's too many.
I'm asking you.
Too many variables.
Off the top of your head, how much do you realistically think it would cost?
I mean, it would be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, but that's my point. Is you can't even estimate it. Yeah, Nisco, a day, $1,500. So
that's how much he's like, pay me that, and I'll.
That's the struggle with it. Is you can't. What are you going to do? Go get quotes from the Epic Game Store?
It really depends on the scope. That's the thing. Is that are you willing to do, like I said at the beginning, a minimal scope? Are you willing to deliver that product?
Maybe.
Because if you're truly trying to create what this says, the most immersive, attention to realism, high attention to gameplay details. Like if you're truly wanting to deliver that and you're not willing to deliver anything less, then you could, then you're going to have to say it's going to take a large amount. But if you're willing to compromise and say, I just want to get a game out, regardless of what it looks like.
Yeah.
Whatever they pay for, I will deliver. Then you could go for much less. But the thing is most game designers, most people that are coming up with an idea of a game have something in their mind that they truly want. Which is probably much bigger than what they understand the capabilities of making, right? And it will cost them a lot more to make. Almost all these Kickstarters that we've seen where they're people making a game, they were unable to reach their vision because it's easier to see it in your mind than it is to actually code it and make it.
It is, and it's a lot harder to estimate those costs. So with that being said, as always, as we've said a trillion times on this program, be wary of early access, be wary of Kickstarters, and at the end of the day, don't put more money into it than you're not willing to lose. That's kind of the standard. This weather game, $13, I'm willing to lose the money if they don't do any other updates and I never launch the game again. That's what you have to factor in. This company, in my opinion, if I was making a decision, this company has proven that they are incredibly unprofessional. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And I don't know how they can make a product at the end of the day. It's just it's crazy. I mean, they have shown on multiple fronts that they are not serious about what they're doing. Because if they were, they wouldn't have broken the terms of service. They wouldn't have posted an update to Kickstarter calling it shit starter, and saying people that criticize them are idiots and are spewing bullshit. I mean, that's just Brian. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Everybody knows that's ridiculous. So,
well, we'll see where it goes.
Nowhere, hopefully. The hope it's a dumpster fire for them because they're scumbags is what they are. I mean, they lied to people, they misled people, and now they're crying. Now they're crying, woe is me. They're scumbags. I mean, they're scumbags.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you ever seen the meme of the guy that puts the meme of the guy that puts the stake in his bicycle and falls off on the side of the road? That's this company. We broke the Kickstarter terms of service. Oh, damn, Kickstarter. I mean, that's them. Yeah. I mean, that's them. They're scumbags. That's what it is. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat. It's just it's a fact. People listen to this program. I don't sugarcoat this stuff. It's just a fact.
I was watching on Twitch a developer, who was saying, I'm making a game. He's a student. He says, I'm making a game. And he says, anyone who subscribes on Twitch, I will make a character, after you. With anyone who subscribes on Twitch, they're going to have their own character with their own clothing and their own, whatever character. And then if you subscribe on Twitch, you get a gun that's unique that will only be, for you. I'm just like, what in the world? Like, I understand how much time and like for a kick for what, $2 for a sub on Twitch, you're gonna make a game for every single sub. I just or make a character. It just little things like that. You know, he has no clue. He's like, and if anybody knows a place to, you know, or a person who can make characters, you know, let me know. It's just like, oh my goodness. Okay. Oh well.
I mean, here it is. There's the meme, folks.
Nice.
It's just
on the fly.
Yep, on the fly. Thanks. I'm a professional.
Professional.
All right. Let's talk about some a quick. Well, let's talk about some survival gaming news, and we'll come back. Let's talk about this. DayZ, Brian, a game that we have. I mean, I've been pretty critical of them, and it's not undeserved. They've kind of let the ball drop on a lot of things, but they're working on a new project inside of DayZ. It's called, shocker, Survivor Games with a Z. Very original, back to the 2012 Arma days. And it is a battle royale survival game which can be played solo or in duo co-op as part of DayZ. So it is a it's part of DayZ. If you have a copy of DayZ on Steam, you can request an alpha code, and they give the minimum spec requirements. There really is no other information on it. There's a couple of areas that look at some POIs, some airdrops, some things that happen across the map. I think this is a good move, Brian. This is the way to get people like me who would.
Because you have to own a copy of DayZ.
Well, you do, no, but to start, to get into the alpha.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way for somebody like me that is been very disfranchised from the actual survival mode of the game, because it's just I don't have a good time with it, to install the game and try something else. I'd be if they send me an alpha code, which I hope they do. I requested one. I mean, I'd play this. I'd at least install it and try it. I mean, why not? And once I've got the game installed, you see what happens. But this is because I'm convinced at this point with DayZ, and you're actually the one that would be making this decision. No single update they do to the base game is going to change your opinion of it. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah. I mean, I would only check it out if it were incredibly on sale. And then I would look at it, and I already don't have the faith in it because none of my friends play it.
So with that being the case, though,
kind of telling me
a whole new game mode for DayZ like this.
If you could get the people that own the game to launch it, to get in there, then I would see them playing it inside of Steam, and I would say, I wonder if it's worth, maybe there's a sale, $30. Okay, I guess maybe I will. But they'd have to be playing it. Right now, if I bought it, I know I would never play it because no one else is playing it. And this is a multiplayer game.
It is, and that's a huge issue that they've got going right now. So I think from their perspective, this is a great thing for them to try to do, and try to get people to they just got to get people to run the game. I need to see the pop-up on the bottom right-hand corner that Boise Computer's playing DayZ. They've got to do something to get people to play these games. So, or to play this game rather. So Survivor Games, it's DayZ.com/SG-alpha. There'll be a link in the show notes, infectionpodcast.com. Request an alpha code, and they say you need a copy of DayZ, a Windows PC with some specs, and a stable internet connection. It's rated M for mature, so check it out.
Scary.
Yes, very spooky.
So let's talk a little bit about, do you want to talk about Hotdrop for a minute?
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Okay, so actually, I think you should play, because they did an announcement video. So Hotdrop is the PUBG podcast. They were, and we talked about them on the show early on. They did give us some thank yous for
this whole video. We're not going to play.
No. But the talking is in the very beginning, and then they have just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of jokes and things halfway through.
Gotcha.
So let's just play the beginning, and then we can cut it off at a certain point.
Episode brought to you by the unequivocal devotion to the delivery of high-quality internet content related to the widely spectacular and definitively esports-ready game known as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
This is Hotdrop, where we bring you premier PUBG analysis and the most delayed of drops. I'm Dano.
I'm Cody.
And I'm John.
In today's episode, we break down what's been happening with us, the state of the Hotdrop, and we take a dive into a new venture. Let's get into it.
My fellow Hot Droppers, over the last 2 years and 93 episodes, we, the Hot Droppers in Chief, have tried to provide you with a weekly dose of bad jokes, angelic songs, great points, and we sprinkled in some PUBG content as well. This has truly been one of the most satisfying endeavors that I've ever taken on. It helped Dan and I do something that we've talked about achieving since high school. It gave me a new lifelong acquaintance in John, and provided him with a solid background story to tell the cops when they finally suspect him of being a murderer. Outside of that, we have reached out across the interwebs and shared personal stories with over 1,000 people each week. This is incredible to us, that you would want to hear us, send in your feedback, meet us in bars, or have us in your homes. KK even still shows up, even though our official stance is that he fornicate with himself. Fuck you, KK.
All right. So I mean, I don't know how much more of this you want to play.
Well, was getting ready to say.
We probably should start it on a timestamp then.
Okay.
Some of that is
So,
scheduling.
how about you
Some
want me
of
to
it is
just
time
say what he
constraint.
said?
Well, yes. I mean, I think that would probably be a better explanation than watching
Okay.
the 8-minute video.
Okay. So what they're doing is, now this is something that we understand.
Yes.
PUBG is not putting out content on a regular basis. And it's difficult
Once
when
a
you do a
month.
podcast.
They do one big update a month now.
Yes. And it's difficult when you do a podcast about a particular game and it goes through and doesn't do updates for long periods of time. And maybe when they do an update, it's not worth, putting all that time. So we dealt with it by expanding the base of what we discuss. Right. And they did try that. So they had kind of a separate thing that they did. And they weren't satisfied with doing that. Right. So they backed off of that. And they decided to go to there's our Infection, the H1Z1 podcast.
Yeah.
Where it still says that in Steam. But what we decided to do is we expanded it. For them, they decided, well, we will just do content as it comes up. So they're changing their Hot Drop podcast to be based on whenever content comes out, they'll throw out an episode.
Yep.
As it comes. And then they're starting another podcast that is going to be pretty much not gaming related. It's just going to be a general interest, things that they like to discuss type of a podcast. So if you're interested, because that's one thing that we've seen too, there's people that listen to us not because of the content that we talk about, just that they are interested in hearing us talk, I guess.
And this is something that we've actually had very long discussions about, of doing something, not recently, but I would say probably 2 years ago. We had there was a point in time in which we were seriously contemplating doing a full transition into either just a general gaming or more of just a technology and pop culture kind of show. It was something that we really did contemplate doing. I'd say fortunately we didn't, because I think at that point, our hesitation was, well, there's like literally 1,000 other morons that are doing this every week. We're just going to add one more to the mix, and that doesn't really add anything. So we stuck with it, but and they are a much smaller topic group of just PUBG. And again, it was great for a while, same as it was with H1Z1.
While PUBG was putting out regular content, while the PUBG was the hot thing. But we've talked about it on here. PUBG's primary audience now is China. And, the American numbers aren't doing that well. I mean, compared, there's not nearly the numbers of players in America. And they said that they were trying to stretch it to the Xbox and then, the phone. And they're trying to follow that. But pretty much the content then was, okay, they released it on one console and then it's the exact same update a little bit later that then they're talking about again, on whatever other platform. So I understand, it's good that they're they're going on to do something else that they enjoy. They have built up a decent following of people that are just interested in hanging out and talking to them and listening to them. And it's good that they move on and expand upon that. If they can retain those people, and if another game comes up, or for some reason PUBG does a crazy blitz of content, people get really interested in again. But just like if we would have stayed on H1Z1, where would we have been today?
Not doing not out probably drinking. not doing this right now. So it's,
that is the difference. Is we understood, just like they are, you cannot continue a podcast on a game that is either dying or not putting out content enough to talk about.
So I would say we salute our friends over at the Hotdrop podcast, Dano, and the team. He was originally a listener to us, and I still think he listens from time to time. And then when he spawned this up, about 2 years ago, 93 episodes, about 2 years ago, he's been going along with it. So good run, guys, and keep the content flowing. So if you want to check them out, the link is in our show notes on our website, which is infectionpodcast.com, as it's always been. So we contemplated changing the name too at some point, I believe, and I think we realized that was not a good idea either.
Yeah, because when we pretty much just went, okay, Infection, the survival podcast. It was Infection, the H1Z1 podcast. We're like, well, should we? When we decided not to do H1Z1 primarily, we're like, well, should we change it to something else? We realized there would be a big branding thing.
Yeah,
that would be a pain. It would be starting over. Yeah, Jonesy says the Brian podcast.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, I'm out. I got things to do. I got to be up at 5:45 for work. You can handle.
You need to give me remote access to your computer so I can switch.
Okay.
I don't know how I could do remote faders and things. But
okay, Mr. Microsoft Tech Support. I don't need this remote access to my computer nonsense. All right, so boy, lots of non-gaming news this week, but I think that's okay. It was kind of a light news week anyway. Speaking of no segue there. Let's do a game giveaway, Brian. If you've got one and you've got something that we can give away.
Let me get it pulled up for your vanilla.
Okay, well then while you're doing that, let me quickly do the updates from our friends over at Xera. By the way, a game with a failed Kickstarter that found didn't break terms of service, just didn't have a successful Kickstarter, that pivoted to another solution to doing a game. So props to them. This was Hotfix 3.2, and this came out on July 13th, so this was 2 days ago, on Saturday, and what they did is they took the servers down to remove the Independence Day event, where they added a whole bunch of skins and whatnot to the game. So that was the update, very quick, very seamless. They reported no issues with it. So that was the latest hotfix. You had 12 or 13 days to go in there and get some of your Independence Day limited items. Of course, I did not, because I'm stupid. And now we'll have to probably beg Joshua to give me some of the skins. So I didn't have an option to do that. But if you did, good on you. And that's out of the game now. Everything is back to normal. And hopefully we'll have, by the show next week, we'll have another big content push for them next Friday. This Friday, but for next show. So that's kind of the schedule that the folks over at Xera are following.
Very good. All right. So if you want to type ! giveaway in chat, and we will be doing a 60-point raffle. So you've been listening for the last hour. You should have enough points for that. And this is a game. Saul just walks in the door. I'm going to be giving away a copy of I'm Not a Monster, which is a strategy turn-based tactical retro game.
Oh.
And it's got mostly positive, recent, very positive overall. It's currently a $13 game. And so it looks like something that some of our audience would find fun. So ! Giveaway in chat, and then we will give that away before the end of the show.
And we are live most Tuesdays, not this Tuesday, but we're live most Tuesdays here on Twitch, 7 p.m. Eastern. It is always our start time, no matter the day. But a quick note, you need to follow us on Twitter if you're not, because that's our friend Judd joined us a little while ago. He says, I didn't realize the show was on Monday. Well, if you'd been ringing our bell on Twitter, you would have known. I tweeted out twice today, retweeted it once, and then tweeted out right before we started the show. So again, it was a last minute change, but fortunately between Discord and the Twitter service, we were able to keep people up to date, and we've got a whole bunch of people here joining us live. So follow us on Twitter and join our Discord to get all of those notifications and change of dates and last minute things, games that we're playing, and everything else that's fun. But I did some streaming over the weekend. I put it out on our Twitter. We had a couple people come in. It was a good time. So
Very good.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, please check me out.
So let's talk a little bit about Epic, because
okay.
we need to make sure the paychecks come in.
Absolutely.
So
Somebody's got to pay
there was
for my cocktails on the plane.
Oh yes. So there was an article on Eurogamer, and it's titled "A Refreshingly Honest Developer Tells It Like It Is When It Comes to Epic Store Exclusivity." And it says, "We'll take some of their money. Thank you very much." And this is how the developers are looking at this. I mean, this is an opportunity for them. Epic is pumping money into these exclusivity deals because they're trying to rival Steam. One thing Tim Sweeney said is, "We believe that there's no set of features which Epic or any other store could add that would be so revolutionary as to lead to a large-scale move of gamers from a dominant storefront to a new one." This is something he said recently. He says, "We believe the lock-in effect of having a large library of games on a dominant storefront is more powerful than features, and hence a dominant store can only be challenged through exclusives. This is why they're doing this." And he posts an article from Bill Gates, or speaking about Bill Gates, and how for him, and this is probably some of his driving force on this, is Bill Gates says his greatest mistake ever was Microsoft losing to Android. And what it came down to was they didn't have apps that people wanted to use. And Android, and same thing with iPhone. You look at iPhone, it has the apps that you want to use. Microsoft did not have those apps.
I remember when I was in middle school, I had an iPhone coming into middle school. It was hot stuff. I mean, the people didn't have iPhones. So, and again, this is back in, oh God, I don't know, 2008. And so I had my iPhone, and one of my friends had, I don't know if you ever had one of these, Brian, the Palm Pre, which was HP's phone that they made, the Palm. And we always used to make fun of him because of the App Store. Not that the device sucked. It's that there was no apps for the
You just couldn't get any of the apps that other people were using.
Yeah, and the Lumia had this issue. The most recent Lumia is like the Lumia 570 or something like that, and it's out and it's fine now. But even like 3 years ago, apps like Instagram and Snapchat did not have apps for Microsoft's. What do they call their mobile OS? It's not called Windows. Well, I guess it is called Windows Phone now. It was called Windows Phone, then they changed it to Lumia. Now I think it's called Windows Phone again. So. It's an app issue.
And I think they're going to be kind of not pushing that anymore.
I don't think they have any new ones out. But I remember back 3 or 4 years ago on What the Tech, which is the show that Paul Thrott and Andrew Zarian did on the GFQ network. It was a big topic. It was like, hey, great, you've got this phone. It's got it was the best mobile smartphone camera, if you remember. It had a huge camera on the back of it, yellow phone. I don't know why I remember this so vividly. But no apps. No apps. Yep. You could not use Snapchat or Instagram, which are the two, probably they were both within the top 5 social networks, unavailable on the device. A huge issue. And it's the same issues with gaming. And it could be the same issues with gaming.
This developer, he says, this is quoting him, "Generally, I think I would prefer not to do exclusives, but I understand Epic's position with it. And quite frankly, they are paying through the nose to build their store. All credit to them. It's fantastic. And we'll take some of their money. Thank you very much." And so this is how the developers are looking at it. It's a pure business case. And this is the only real path that Epic has to compete with Steam.
And I don't think they're ever going to, by the way. I mean, I'll say that flat out. I think they'll be like, Brian, they're going to be like every other launcher. They'll be like the Battle.net launcher, the EA launcher. You'll have a handful of games you play on the Epic launcher, and that'll be that. And a lot of free games. But, I mean, this whole... And maybe this is.
I think games are going to become less centralized, though.
Well, that I hope is the case. I think maybe the expectations, and I don't know what Epic's expectations are, but this whole dethroning of Steam thing, I think, is a little far fetched. Could it happen? Yes, would it be good for the consumer? Would it be good if they were to really eat into Steam's market share? Probably. But it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to end up being, I wish they could hold their ground with Steam, because it would mean, in most cases, and can only assume it would be the same thing with this, it would mean lower prices, better support, better service. That's not every case. I'm not saying that's going to be the case here, but in most cases, when you add competition into the market, you as the consumer get lower prices, better service, better products, better whatever. That's normally what happens. It may be different in here. Who knows? Nobody knows, because it doesn't exist. So I think it could be great, but it's not realistic.
I think if they offer, what Epic is planning on offering is having, all the a central place where developers can program in to have voice chat and the leaderboards and all, cross console play. Of course, as you've seen, Steam has no interest in really providing that in a way that's cross platform. They don't have anything that works with PS4, and they don't have anything that works with Xbox. If Epic really wants to compete, I think that's how they'll have to do it, to where they can decentralize, to where it doesn't matter if you're playing the game on PS4, Xbox, Steam, or the Epic Store, you're still using their services to do it, to where then it doesn't matter if it's exclusive. If it's exclusive, you're going to buy it there. But as soon as you can also play with people on whatever platform you want to play it with them on. And I think at that point, there's some people that will use Epic, and there's some people that will use Steam. And I think if then Steam says, no, you're not allowed to use this other platform, I think that would be a driving force away from Steam, and it would make some people move away. But I don't see any other way of, as he said, offering any feature that's going to do this. It's going to have to be that Steam, in defense, is trying to restrict something or take something away that would make people finally move away from it.
Yeah. And let's be honest, we've talked about this for a while on this program. Steam's customer support is worse than probably Google's, and Google is notorious for having the worst, most awful customer support. Steam's rivals that. There's no contact information. There's no live chat. You send an email into the nether, you may or may not get a response. It's awful. So
and that's something that
let's not paint
that
this
you're
picture.
Locked into these two. I mean, the ultimate thing would be you're purchasing a license to a game that you can use on any platform. That would be the ultimate. That I don't see that happening, but you're locked into Steam right now with all of these games. You are locked in. It's just like Windows. You're licensing the right to use it. You don't own that game. So I think that eventually I'm sure you'll even see, Congress getting involved in this, to where, some edgy congressman wants to make a name for himself, and they start forcing you to allow, you to purchase a game and actually own the rights to it, to where you're not locked onto a platform. That may happen someday, but I think short of that, we're not going to see very much change with the whole rights and usage thing, because I have all these games in Steam, and if something happened to my Steam account, all those would be instantly gone. There's nothing I could do about it.
Agreed. So
I don't truly own those games.
I think the rose-colored glasses with Steam is a little bit ridiculous in a lot of cases. They do a whole bunch of things great. The friends list system, that whole process is great. But and I see the argument made a lot, especially on Reddit and Twitter, that Steam is like the greatest thing ever. It's not. I mean, it's a game platform.
Yeah.
I mean, they do some things great. They do some other things not great at all. I mean, I don't have any loyalty to Steam. I buy games on Steam because where the hell else am I going to buy them?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the thing is we're still not really purchasing games on Epic. And
I haven't purchased any game. People always call me the Epic show. I haven't given Epic a freaking dollar. All the games suck. We've been very clear about that. The games are terrible.
But if there was a game that you were truly passionate
I'd
about
buy
that
it.
was on there, you would buy it.
Of course.
And so I think they're going through and picking out the ones that have the biggest player bases, so that they can get all those people. They just haven't hit our niche quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, they've tried with that Left 4 Dead style zombie game, but that just wasn't really appealing to me at the price.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to play it. And guess what? I wouldn't have played it. And when was the last time you played it? I mean,
I don't know. I played it once.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Now, one thing I do want to say is, so Epic does these grants. You can sit there and bash Epic, but one thing they do is they give money away to developers and to different organizations that they view as either having a big chance or making a big splash. And they just supported the Blender team. And if you don't know what Blender is, it is pretty much a 3D modeling software that's open source. There's the ones that you usually will see if there's a big game studio, they're doing something like 3ds Max or Maya. Very expensive.
Cinema 4D. Isn't that Cinema 3D?
No, three. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Sorry. There's
3ds
software.
Max.
Yeah. Oh,
but I've never used that. And so there's Blender, which is the open source. A lot of these indie developers use it because the licensing on 3DS is very expensive. That's realistic for a large company, but most people don't have a huge amount of money to throw out just to kind of have the chance at making a game. So Blender is what a lot of people use, and they just gave Blender a $1.2 million mega grant. So this will benefit. I mean, games that you see being developed, this will go towards helping improve that platform, make it something that competes more with some of these other 3D modeling. PH says Cinema 4D is for rendering. So, but this will be will be helping Blender to hire on more people, make it to where the quality of the program goes up. They do an awesome job. I mean, it's a very competitive program, but this is an open source project. I'm sure they get money for support and things like that for doing different things with it, but this will make a big difference.
Yep.
In moving it forward. So that is their latest mega grant that they did, and that's $1.2 million.
Yeah, and that'll help not just Epic, but it'll help help developers that are making games that are going to be on the Epic store in general. And let's be honest, $1.2 million for Epic is like you dropping $1.20 down the sewer, Brian. I mean, it is a very small amount of money for Epic.
And this just makes, this makes them look good. But
absolutely.
It's also, they've been giving away a lot of software. They're really trying to build up people that are doing game development.
Why would you not?
This is one really good way to do it.
You have a game store.
But they make more money off their engine.
They do, but my point is you're trying to compete with the largest supplier of Windows and Mac games as Epic. I mean, giving away the house is exactly what you'd want to do for them. I mean, they need to get as many people as possible in using software that only
they
benefits
want everybody
them.
using Unreal, so that then their store is a much better option, because then you drop that 5% fee. It becomes very appealing.
Yeah.
When the cost of getting your game published drops by millions of dollars. Possibly. I mean, if you sell a decent number of copies. So that's very good. So I figured that would be interesting to some people if you're in the game dev world. $1.2 million. That's pretty good.
It is. Brian, there's a new game out today. It's called Lost Region, and it's a very interesting looking game. It is it's a game with factions, base building, and it's a 64 square kilometer map. You can do as you always call it, I like your example, the hermit. You can be the hermit, or you can play with a group. And it came out today after being delayed a couple of days based on some server issues. Well, It's got 27 reviews, 30% of them are positive. So right off the bat, people are not liking the game. Now, of course, none of these people have even an hour in the game, giving it terrible recommendations. They have been very clear. Now, unlike a lot of other people, let's read exactly what they had to say about this. By the way, I did reach out to them for an interview, so hopefully we'll hear back and get them on the show. This is an update today. Urgent news. The game is releasing on Steam Store in early access. We want to make sure that you understand that this game is still in early access and is currently in the alpha version. If you are not sure about the game in early access, please wait until full release of the game. The game is still quite raw, and we will fill the game world with new locations and add new features ASAP. So, it's a brand new game. It's been plagued with issues over the past 2 weeks. And they make it very clear that it is not ready for full release.
Should they be on Steam though? The thing is why do games come out at a point where they say it's not ready to play?
No.
You could bring on private testers. You could then open it up to a public testers. You know what I'm saying? As far as, like do all those steps, because look at your Steam ratings. That is a snowball effect. Once you start seeing that, people then, people are kind of like a hive type of mentality. When they do this, you know what? They're going to keep piling on negative reviews. But if there were positive reviews there, some people would probably put more positive reviews. I think you're opening yourself up to a very negative thing here when you release it. And first of all, it's not stable. There's a lot of people complaining about rubber banding and crashing, which is understandable. I mean, if this is an early access game, that will happen. But you really need to focus on, at what point do I want to have people see this? Because people are going to make videos and people are going to talk about it and reviews are going to be posted. Is this at a point where it's ready to show people? And they claim, with the things, it's not. I just think they should have, if they felt like it wasn't ready, then don't put it out yet. I mean, it's not like it looks bad. I think they just need to optimize it and get it to a point where it's stable.
Well, I mean, and Unicorn Joe in chat is saying this looks a lot like H1Z1, and it absolutely has an H1Z1 look to it. But there is, you can say, you can say the game is not ready. Essentially they're saying don't buy it. I mean, we want to make sure that you understand the game is still in early access and is currently the alpha version. If you were not sure about the game in early access, please wait until the full release. The game is still quite raw, and we need to fill the game world. I don't know what the magic number is, but there is a number in which you should not release a game. And I think these guys are just teetering on the edge. Now, in their defense, but they have a Trello board. They're keeping track of notes. They've been constant with their updates on Steam. They're overseas somewhere. So hopefully I'll hear back from them tomorrow and we can schedule something for next week's show. But I mean,
how is this different? How is this different than H1Z1? As far as, remember the early days of H1Z1?
Yeah.
I mean, the rubber banding, the crashing, the crazy audio issues.
Even though, but with H1Z1 on launch, the map was fully populated. Vehicles worked. There were guns. I mean, H1Z1 was early access, but it was a released game. But it was a released game when they released it, Brian. There was a full map. The original whatever. What was the first map called? P1 or whatever. I don't know what we used to call it.
Well, we didn't really have a name for it. It was just
that map was done. I mean, they didn't add any new. They added a couple of small things throughout the game. They added the governor's mansion. They added the hospital. It was a playable game. They didn't add like a whole new road network. Loot spawns already existed. The game was a kind of a mess, but it was a finished game in the regards of what it was compared to this on launch. This, I haven't played it, and I'm not gonna. It's on sale till the 22nd for $15. But this, based on, let me just read one of the reviews. This guy's got 30 minutes on, so take that for what it's worth. Summary: I got extremely bored in the first 10 minutes with no direction and no options. I wasn't able to communicate using my mic, instead using chat. When I clicked on a server, it took 20 seconds to get in. 20 seconds to get in. Floating items, can't see player lists, mediocre. Rubber band, crash, 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 run, find a town. There's no loot, game crash. Character erase ×2, refunded. That guy's got 70 minutes. Lost Region can be just as great as all the other amazing survival titles, like H1Z1 and DayZ. One day, I suppose, but at this very moment in time, this is this guy's review. At this very moment in time, they really should focus on cutting that roadmap in half and then come back to me for another opinion. give me time. This game could be great or could be another flop. So clearly, this is the sediment, the H1Z1 sediment. This guy gives it a 10 out of 10, 1.4 hours. This is a game I played it. 10 out of 10 toolboxes would recommend. So clearly, some of the positive reviews are not positive reviews. With that, so as PH says,
I mean, imagine how disheartening it is for that's the developers though, because I think that for them they view it as, all right, we're going to put it out there and keep working on it. We just need to bring in some money, and then the internet hits and what you thought was going to happen does not.
Yeah, but don't you know?
Well, I think most people are kind of oblivious.
So you're telling me these developers who said their game is very raw, is rampant.
They think people the internet will be forgiving.
Well, then they're idiots.
Yeah,
I do want to say this though, because it's not like this game had no problems. There was there was an update last week. I want to see if I can find it. There was maybe it was another game. I thought it was these guys. There was an update, and it literally was like, we have a server issue that we can't solve, and we don't know what's going to happen. I feel like that was them. Maybe I'm crazy. I read something like that. I thought it was these guys.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Huh. Now I kind of feel like a dummy. Well. Oh yes, here we go. This is from a month ago, June 14th. Hello everyone. The game have serious problems with the multiplayer at the moment. We tried to solve them for the last 2 weeks, but did not succeed at the moment. So, I mean, what does that mean? So for 2 weeks, from the beginning of June to June 14th, and ongoing from then, they had server issues that they could not solve. We will solve problem and release the game. If we have the opportunity to make a release early, we will do that. We're really sorry to disappoint you, but we have no choice. So this is I cannot believe, I will not let you convince me that these developers are like, release game, people will be happy. Because they're literally admitting
people will be happy, but they probably figure people would jump on like they kind of did with H1Z1.
Well, the problem is they were going to refund.
Backing and yeah, nowadays, but back in those days, H1Z1 days, I don't think there was a refund.
Yeah, maybe there wasn't. So 27 reviews, 30% of them are positive, 70% are negative. Not a great look.
Yeah, and this is going to be very tough for them to reverse that.
This is their first game, by the way, too. The first game on Steam. I did reach out to them. Hopefully, we'll hear back. I'd love to talk to them and hear. I think though, based on the English in the Steam updates, I doesn't seem like somebody there's got super strong English as a second language skill. So that we've run into that in the past. If nevertheless, maybe we can get an email conversation and just ask them some questions and get some responses. So, with that being said, it's on Steam. It's called Lost Region, REGION. It is $14.99 until July 22nd, which is next Monday. So if you're interested, you want to throw these guys a few bucks.
They're based out of the Ukraine.
Based out of Ukraine. You want to throw them a few bucks and give it a shot. Again, $15. It is what it is. You make your decision, but don't buy and complain, because they've made it. That is one thing that really kind of gripes my ass with this, Brian, though. Is you have people reading Steam reviews. The game is really not finished. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, they put it in their post. The game's not finished. They said it's a very early experience. So I get leaving a negative review, but they were very clear with the status of the game. Should it be on Steam? No. But it's not like they said, hey, our game is finished and ready to go. They're like, the game is broken. It's very broken, but clearly we need some money. And this is me paraphrasing it, but they clearly need some money to continue development, and this is why they released it to Steam. So don't leave a negative review. They made it very clear what the problems were. That makes you an idiot, and I don't like that. It's just it screws them over, and in some regard they deserve to be screwed over based on not releasing a finished product. But in the same vein, they tried to be transparent and are now kind of getting screwed by that. So I mean, I don't know. It's a tough situation, but you can't say you were misled. That's ridiculous.
I think that the patience of people and indie developers is much different now than it used to be. people are not willing to trudge through and wait for you to fix things. And, like people want a delivered game because there's so many, we talked about this before, there's so many games out there now to choose from. Why are you going to, put your bets on a game that's just, that has a ton of issues? You'll just move on and play a different game. Back when we were playing H1Z1, there wasn't a ton of options at that time. There was H1Z1 and there was H1Z1
And DayZ.
DayZ.
Yeah.
Which, that was that was prior to the DayZ standalone.
No, DayZ standalone was out. It was right around the same
was that
time.
out, bud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, it was in the same however many months.
Yeah.
But that was your
2014.
two options.
Yeah, I agree. There
You
was
know?
nothing existed.
And so if you wanted to play that style of game, you were playing that. Now there's tons of survivalish style games out there. And there's nothing that's forcing you to play this. So I think they'll just need to polish it, get it to where it works well. It's sad that they've kind of released it and people are like, this is the expectation now. This is what people think it is.
Well, and they're not wrong. And this is one of the case. I normally side with developers because people are generally people are stupid in the things they say. Just generally they are. But in this case, both sides have the exact same valid argument. I can see why the people that bought it are pissed off. I can see why the developers are kind of like, you knew what you were getting into. So in this situation, it's kind of a split in my book. And I know a lot of people would be much harsher on the developers, but in my book, it's kind of a split. Both sides need to take blame. So Lost Region,
Yep.
hopefully they reach out. And if they don't, then trying to give them free press. So if they don't do that, then
it'll be
dead
like
to-
that other
dead
one
to
that
me.
you were talking about that we were trying to remember the name
Remnants.
of. Remnants, yes.
Yeah, good on them. Appreciate your support.
So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit. There's another game
Ooh.
that is fairly new called Deadside.
All these new games.
This,
We're going to stay alive,
Yes.
baby. We're not going anywhere.
and this one is releasing, it says in 2019.
Oh, okay.
And so it will be releasing. You can add it to your wish list. But it's very similar to the last game if you kind of look as far as the graphics. And this one is the same thing. It's a online post-apocalyptic survival game, and they have a website. This one, I'm trying to see what date they set. I'm trying to find a date on this, and I don't see a date that they're actually coming out on this. But yeah, this is another one. Deadside. They did a video. There's a video there that you can see of them doing a test with 100 bots, pretty much a performance test. So I don't know if you want to play that really quick.
Yeah, where is that?
What? It's the third link.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was playing their Steam trailer.
And so this is them, which is a good sign. This means that they're actually testing it for performance.
Do we need to listen to it?
No, I don't think there's
Okay.
talking in it.
All right. So what are we looking at here, Brian? For our audio listeners, we're looking at an NPC standing in a field or standing on a road.
So
There's
this is them in the game, and what they've done is they've spawned in, I think it was 5 groups of 20 NPCs.
But are these simulating players or like environmental zombies? Oh, these are
These ones are actual like AI.
Oh yeah, I see them.
So this is AI. So they're testing because you got to think the logic, just to break down what's happening here and why they would do 100 bot test is each of these characters are pathing. They're looking at where can I walk, and they're doing various things in the world, taking up resources on the server. And it's causing traffic to these clients. So they threw 100 in there just to see how the server would respond, and see if it kept decent performance, which it seems to be. I don't see any kind of crazy lag. The NPCs seem to be walking at a normal rate. This has a very much of a kind of an Arma feel to me.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, this is them kind of doing a test. So, this is a good sign that they are showing, unlike that game that we talked up at the very beginning, Raw. Here's them showing, if they were to go to Kickstarter, you know what? Kickstarter wouldn't kick them off because they're showing actual content. They're showing the player moving around. They're showing NPCs actually walking around in the world. This is, I think that this is a good sign that this will have some promise. And, with the last one we talked about, Lost Region, I didn't really see any kind of content like this of them showing any kind of performance and trying to prove anything. So that this is another one. If you're interested in checking out Deadside, it is on Steam. We'll have a link to the page for it on the show notes as well. So, but another post-apocalyptic survival game.
This is another Eastern European development company. These guys are out of Russia. The last guys are out of Ukraine.
Yeah.
There is that game Tarkov also came from that part of the world. There is kind of a weird. There's something weird about the games from that region. They just never seem to do anything. They never take off.
Yeah, Escape from Tarkov. I mean, that had so much promise. Everybody's talking about it, but how many people actually play?
I've literally never heard of anybody that's owned it. I mean, and not that we've got the largest community in the world, but I mean, just nothing. It's just something weird about games from. It seems like games from that part of the world have a lot of hype built up, and I'm not saying this has got a lot of hype or doesn't have a lot of hype. This video's only got 2,100 views, but it just nothing seems to happen.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It seems like, I mean, they seem to always have the kind of same feel to them is one problem. I don't know, like even the look. I don't know if it's the game engine they're using or what it is, but I look at it and they kind of put this like fuzzy effect. I don't know. I don't get attracted to those style of games. There's just a certain look that they do now, and I'm not seeing it so much in their demo, but like in the content that they're doing for their trailer, and then on their website, like it has a very much a feel of kind of like that. How was it, the Tarkov game, or not the Tarkov? The what's the one that they did, the Wild West Online? That's another one that's out of that area that just promises and doesn't deliver.
Yeah. This game looks it definitely has got an Arma feel, but it looks good, and they've clearly got a game, something that somebody can run around in, unlike a lot of other games.
So there is promise with it, and it'll just be interesting to see if they can get it to where it performs well.
And what is this called?
People care about now. Deadside. And
it's on Steam. You can add it to your wish list.
Yes, it's currently under development. They have not published it yet, but it is. It'll be out, sometime in the next couple months.
These guys have a couple of games from 2016. They've got one called UFO Online Invasion, and then a whole bunch of DLCs for it. It's kind of a top-down game, and they've also got a VR-only game that came out in August. So they've got they've released 2 games and a whole bunch of DLC for one of them. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see. The VR game has got no reviews. It's been out since August. That's not the best sign.
So if you see, though, that they released a game in 2016, what hype was there in 2016?
Different kind of game, though.
But what I'm saying is, if they've been working on this one since around 2016, similar to the time that they finished the last one.
Yeah, maybe.
Back then, 2016, I would say that there was a lot of hype behind zombie survival and survival games and post-apocalyptic, and I think there's less hype now than there was.
This UFO game's got a 50-50 split of reviews on it. It's a top-down game, so it's not really the same. And then their VR game here has been out since August of last year, literally almost a year, and they've got no reviews on it. Oh, it's because it's not available to buy. Okay, it's coming soon. That would explain it. Okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. Let's.
You should write them a review, anyways.
Well, you can't. You can't leave a review if it's not out. So that is Deadside. Links will be in our show notes. It's being developed by Bad Pixel, and our website is infectionpodcast.com. You can check out the Steam page.
Yes. So do we want to talk? Do you want to play the Rust video really quick?
Yeah. What's coming up in Rust?
So, I mean, first of all, this is they have been doing the once a month updates in Rust. They haven't been putting out their updates, but of course, Shadowfrax goes through and he's keeping on top of this. He actually must look at the notes and get information from them. But they did do a change to how they do some of the visuals in it, and he'll show it in here, but I think it looks pretty cool. So this is mostly fixes and then a thing with visuals. So keep an eye on that when it gets to that section and he actually does a comparison between the two.
Exciting new things as horse troughs, new horse models, minicopter fuel gauges, and a bucket full of optimizations. Well, at least for some, it seems. As is always the case. Although I'm hearing some good noises from server owners about performance on their end at least. After any number of changes are inserted into a game, though, there's always an equal and opposite amount of cleaning up to do afterwards, and so yesterday, Thursday, a small server and client patch, not a wipe, touchdown, bringing with it a few welcome fixes, such as scope overlays no longer being tiny on larger screen resolutions, co-pilots no longer being able to access the fuel tanks on minicopters, a fix to inverse kinematic weirdness on player feet, no longer being able to place large furnaces under terrain, and a few fixes to player names. Namely, the font on your team members' names should actually be readable on the map now without a microscope. There's better handling of long player names on the team doc, and talking of which, player names are now limited to 32 characters, so my sincere apologies to Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Zerg Dominator 420 and anyone who knew him. You might have noticed after last week's patch that horses were wolfing down everything you threw into a trough for them, whether they needed it or not, and although you could say this was just realism, it should be fixed now. In addition, they'll regain stamina, as well as increasing their max stamina when eating. Still works in progress, and Gary teased us with some footage of a new HDRP sky shader he made this week, and this is of course just part of a larger body of work to revamp all of Rust's visuals. Although it seems Gary would love to illuminate the nights for us and actually let us see what we're doing, Helk doesn't agree, and as it's his game, calls for this to happen have been rejected. That's not to say everyone hates the nights, and there are more things to take into consideration here than just personal preference. But the good news is that even though this is a visual upgrade with all new stars and a new moon, in Gary's words, this isn't gonna kill your frame rate. It's a single full screen quad with like 6 texture lookups. It's an optimization. Naturally, the assumption is that there's always an inverse relationship between visual upgrades and performance, and nobody's blaming anyone for thinking that. It's a fairly common experience. But it seems that in this case, we might both have our pie and eat it. HDRP looks like it should be either better than or at least on a par with current performance, but because a lot of work and testing needs to be done on this and all the other aspects of the overhaul, it may be some time until we can truly find out. Stay tuned though, and I will keep you in the know. There were more commits regarding the giant excavator monument this week, so next month may finally be the month we get to experience it. Gesture animations will be getting sounds, it seems. Not sure what those will be exactly. And as mentioned previously, auto turrets will likely soon require electricity, which of course raises the question, what about cave-based defense, seeing as we only have solar or wind to power things right now? Well, viewers of the channel will know that a fuel generator has been modelled along with a water wheel / human-sized hamster wheel, and although these haven't been implemented yet, I'm wondering just how far off we are from having them, and when we'll be able to harness the raw power of the human spirit. Thank you once again for lending me your eyes and ears. You can have them back as long as you spank the like and subscribe buttons and throat punch the notification bell. I'm available in several other flavours, including Twitch, where I try to stream 3 times a week, as well as Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group. You can support my work here on Patreon too, and get access to my secret patron-only Discord section. All the links will be down below. I shall catch you all soon, of course, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, quick update there from our buddy Shadowfrax. Apologize about the little bit of scratchy audio at the beginning there. Cleared up, so we're all set with that. So what's your takeaway from that update?
Well, I mean, so one thing, it does show a little bit of contention in the dev staff of, where Gary wants to do one thing and Hulk doesn't want to do whatever that is.
Yeah.
But as you can see, you could see, I saw it with that the lantern. I mean, you could really see the difference in the glass of the HDRP between when he had it on versus having it off. That showed a very big difference. Probably other areas you wouldn't see it, but in things like glass, you will see a very big difference between the old and the new. It has a much better realistic look, much more of a diffused type of a look. So you can see.
Yeah, definitely has got a much different look.
So I think that it'll be interesting to see once they put that in there. Rust doesn't look bad. It's amazing how much work they put into something that I think most people never even notice in Rust. I don't hear people running around saying, "Oh, this game is beautiful." Like, I've just never hear that, but it is a beautiful game.
Oh, I don't know. I used to agree with you, but I think I think now, I don't know. I think people do. I think people look at it and say, wow, this is a very aesthetically pleasing game. They don't,
But I don't hear that from the Rust community.
well,
I hear it from people that see it from the outside.
yeah, well,
I just don't know that the Rust community is so locked into the game, like how they play it,
yeah, but
that
okay.
the rest is kind of just
Well,
extra.
I will make this argument then. I will counterpoint you, Brian. Them not
Yes.
complaining about the graphics sucking, in my opinion, is the equivalent of saying, well, the graphics are really great, because
You don't notice them. It's unlike 7 Days to Die, where
you never complain about the you really never praise the graphics being good. You only ever complain about when things aren't good. When was the last time you left a good review of something on Amazon?
I usually leave a lot of, well, I do it pretty regularly.
Okay.
Well, whenever I go in there, I go through and mark all the ones that I liked, and I put positive reviews for them all.
Okay, well, most people, unlike Brian, the weird guy Aldridge, I only leave I don't believe I've ever left a positive review on something on Amazon.
I only leave positive reviews.
I only leave negative reviews, like most other people. And that's just the way that we're wired. And so it's the same thing with this.
If I find it negative, I don't leave a review at all. I'd rather say something positive for ones that I like, so other people know.
This
I
is
never
why.
leave a negative
This is
review.
why I buy products and they suck and I don't know, because people like Brian are too nice to not leave a nasty review.
Yeah.
So
I
if a
always
product
just leave
sucks,
positive.
you won't leave a bad review?
I just don't leave any review at all.
Hmm.
So I figured it was cheap. Yeah, so I go in, and for things that are really good, I give it 5 stars, and I give an explanation of why it was good, what's positive about it. Because I don't go look at the negative reviews, because even on Amazon, I usually don't look at the negative reviews. I look at the positive reviews.
Yeah, neither do
because
I.
There's always somebody who is going to find a problem with or see something negative in any product that you get. So I look at the number of positive reviews and what those people are saying about it. Like, what did they find positive about it?
I was looking at buying a laptop during the Amazon Prime sale, and I looked at the reviews of it, and the first review was damaged in shipping. And I was like, well, okay, this is not a review of the laptop. Like, UPS or FedEx destroyed it. The other guy said the hard drive was dead. Okay, again, not necessarily a review of the product. Hard drives die. Things like that happen. And I was like, oh my God, these reviews are useless. Like, I'm not going to learn anything from these reviews. I read through a dozen negative reviews. None of them actually said problems with the computer itself. Hard drives crashing and computers getting damaged in shipping are not, and the hard drive maybe, but definitely the shipping not. And hard drives die. So it's not really, not really an issue.
If I'm on the fence about something, then I'll go look at the negatives. But the thing is, I'm weeding out those ones. I'm looking for I didn't like this because the plastic is cheap. I'm looking for those, an actual description of the product itself. But as you found, most of them are, I got it and it didn't fit. Well, is that their problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, or it's like, I couldn't figure it out. Okay, well, that's still not their problem.
Yeah.
So I generally will go to positives first, and then if I'm on the fence trying to figure out between maybe 2 products, then I'll look at the negatives and see if for some reason one has more negatives than another.
Gotcha. Well, and in my case, the way I see the whole Rust thing is the fact that the community doesn't talk about the graphics mean they're exactly where they need to be, because it's a ruthless community.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're not getting pissed. That's the thing, is that I don't hear Rust players getting pissed about things.
No. What is there to be pissed about?
Yeah, the game, they're over. I think that the Rust developers are going overboard delivering stuff that doesn't need to be in the game. I mean, as far as for what the game has become, like, it doesn't matter if that's in the game. Like, the people will play it anyways, but they're still delivering this on a regular basis. So I think that's good for them.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So do you have a preference where we go from here?
No, sir. Steer the ship.
All right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, there was an update for Jaws of Extinction, which we still need to play.
You said you were going to ping me last weekend. You never did.
Yeah, and I didn't. I was busy doing stuff. So I did think about it, but I saw you playing League of Legends, and I was like, I don't have the heart to.
Oh,
to pull them away.
excuses.
But I did think about it. And I came to the computer and I looked, and I was like, oh, he's playing League of Legends.
Okay, all right. Whatever you say.
So they did put out an update. They have here a dev digest, and they have the patch notes for this version. And so this is the 0.2.90.0A. So they did talk about they implemented that temperature system in this. So there'll be a bunch of things relating to that. They added some new sounds and animations, pretty much just adding more content. They improved some things with the NPCs this one. They've added some new items. They also added an autosave system, which saves the game every 15 minutes. So kind of a weird, that's why I want to get in here and play that, because I want to see is this an online game? Like, how does that work? How do you do a 15-minute autosave? So it's got to have some sort of a local game system too. They went through and improved some things with the clouds, and then they improved some performance on this. But also one thing I like is having the dev blog, because it kind of takes it to the next level where they discuss things that they patched. Like what were they focusing on in this patch? And they're talking about the NPC safe zone guards. They go into more description of what the autosave system is, how that works, as far as you can, hit escape and, like you can lay down in a sleeping bag and it'll save. There's these different ways that you can do it. They go through and show, like with the melee and the optics, what they did differently. So if you're interested in Jaws of Extinction, we'll have the link to both their show note, or sorry, their show notes, but their patch notes and the dev diaries, so you can go in and read that if you would like.
It is $20, as we've talked about, and it's currently unlisted because they're doing updates, and they don't. Not that they don't want people to buy it, but
they don't want to get review bombed.
Well,
by people saying this is a release game, and that makes sense. We saw it. We just saw it. We just saw what happens when you release and say it's out, and then people play it and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute." If you could say it's not listed, it's meant for people who really want to try it, but it's not for the general public yet.
Soon TM, Brian.
Yeah. Now PUBG, they actually released a kind of a recap of the test server, because they call it 6 days of Erangel visual update. So they're looking forward they're bringing some new changes to the live server soon. So they ran it on there, but they showed infographics, which is Nick's favorite thing to see.
Yes, I'm very simple, man.
Yeah, so they have on here the number of people that played it, and this is from June through the 12th of July. And they said there was 870,360 players, 182,383 hours played. And then they kind of show the areas what was the priority of people dropping in certain areas, how many kills there were. They go through and show all those different numbers. So this was on the test server. The one thing that is nice is they showed how many, for instance, what gun were people using the most, which is good because you can see the balance of, is there a reason you can kind of see the data that they're working with. Obviously people aren't using the SCAR as much as they are the M4. There's for some reason the SCAR has a lot less people, and they can look at, well, what do we need to do with the SCAR to improve it? They talk about like the haystacks are now destructible, and they added secret bunkers into there. So how many people actually did that? One thing is interesting is out of all of those, almost 900,000 people, there was only 1,157 haystacks destroyed. There's 1,437 visits to the secret bunkers. So out of that 800,000, only a little over 1,400 people actually went and visited the bunkers. This is just a lot of stats. So they did mark here. So, what was some of the feedback that we got from this? People were saying the grass is too dense, made it difficult to see enemies. Looks very vibrant, less dreary and abandoned, which they said was a bad thing. They want it to feel dreary and abandoned. Lighting in some buildings is too dark. They said for the good, though, visual quality has been greatly improved to match the most recent maps. Great changes, updated locations, and still stays true to the original Erangel. The sunshine and updated foliage make the game feel realistic and alive. So it's just some of the feedback. So that should be rolling out to live very soon.
I was having a conversation with our friend Barbie this weekend, and she said that she's been playing PUBG recently and has been having a really good time with it. So I think maybe, Brian, for our inaugural coming back to the game of the week schedule, maybe we should look at PUBG.
Sure.
I mean,
I'd be up for that.
Just an idea.
Yeah, I haven't played it in so long.
Yeah,
I'd be up for that.
I think about anything at this point would be a fresh.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long, anything would be fresh and new.
Yep, I'd be up for that. One thing I was going to mention is Ring of Elysium. They put out, of course, there are 3 updates this week. This is something that for them
they've lost a day since we're doing the show a day early. So
I know. So maybe they'll have another one that they put out. So they
2.
did one on the 11th. And then on there, they did new weapon skins, vehicle appearances, and bug fixes. So they have some skins that they're adding, which I assume, those are visuals. Then on the 13th, they did one that has improvements to the spawn selection system and some client optimizations. And then on the 15th, they did a fix for a visual effect that was happening where visual effects wouldn't disappear after a player was spectating, or was spectated. So those are the 3 patches they put out for Ring of Elysium. And then, of course, SCUM, they put out a number of updates, but I still don't see people playing it. This is 0. They're not quite to the version numbers yet. 0.2.46.15430. And here they added some furniture to the base building elements. And that's one thing. I haven't played it since they've really done base building in here. So it'd be interesting to see how much that brings to it. They did some fixes on there. Then they did some quality of life things, such as adding support for added supporter only base flags. So you could add that to your base. You can now double click to pick up items from chest and car inventory. They did client and server optimizations. They did a thing where it reduced the base elements destroy time for drones. Base building door frames now deal damage when walked on, and interaction distance should now be the same for first and third person views, so making it more consistent. And then on there, they also did their 0.2.46.15446, and this one they went through and did pretty much a number of bug fixes. And so actually, I think that's not the right one. Okay, so yeah, sorry, 1430 was the previous one, and this one is .46, and they went through and still they added some of the same patch notes, which was kind of weird, but they also added the comic at the end. So I don't know why. Like, a lot of their notes are the same, but they did then they added the comic to it, but they put a different version number on it. So just so you know,
the more you know.
So you'll notice a lot of same things between those 2 patch numbers. But that is comic number 16. So if you haven't seen that, you can check it out.
Hey, I've got something here, Brian. There's not an update for it. It's not in the show notes because it's not really there's not really a story about it. But I'm reading, I'm slacking off here during the show, but I've got TweetDeck open and the Infection Twitter account. And I look, there's a long thread in here. I'm trying to figure out who the hell this guy is. So this is the lead community manager for Survive the Ark. So he started this thread 7 hours ago. I hadn't seen anything about this. Duping herd. Engineers are on it. Yes, it's a serious issue. We're treating it as such. I'll share more when I have issue. Happy Monday, I guess. Update. There is a live triage discussion ongoing and ways to proceed. First, the repo needs to be considered. Repercussions, rather, need to be considered. And then the fix needs to be confirmed. If you have steps, I can reach out to you. Triage is still going. I don't have any answers. This is 3 hours ago. Rest assured the team is on it. This will go into the night or into the morning, just depends. These type of fixes are risky because they affect core structural systems. You have to make sure that a fix is a fix and doesn't topple the Jenga board. Right now it's test. And then the last tweet in the thread, which was 4 minutes ago, in quotes, is there going to be a wipe? What type of rollback are we looking at? No one has answers to these questions right now. The first order of business is prevention and then assessing the damage. So this appears that it may have been a very serious duping bug. And if they can't find a solution to this, Brian. There is, I only bring it up because he mentioned it. Is there going to be a wipe? Could it?
I think they do a rollback before they did a wipe.
They might.
I mean, just knowing them. I mean, this is the problem you have when you have a no wipe rule. I mean, when you go through and don't want to do wipes, this is a big deal. If they did wipes every once in a while, this wouldn't matter so much.
Counterpoint, Brian. Is this the perfect time to do a wipe?
No, man, people would flip out.
Well, I understand, but
and they are in a very precarious situation at the moment.
You're not kidding. I mean, they've got like 40,000 concurrent players. Yeah, they are in a very interesting situation.
Atlas isn't doing nearly as well. If they were relying on the income from Atlas, I could see them possibly being more flippant about this. But I think right now they are in a position to where if they wiped, I mean, sure, you get a lot of people to come back.
I mean, I'd be all in.
But would people be would that number the people that would leave because all of a sudden their mega bases are gone?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this is the time. Depending on how bad this is, and it appears to be pretty serious. It definitely appears to be pretty serious, and I can only imagine what it takes to go through and try to undupe items. I mean, the amount of the math, the formulas that have to be made to try to calculate that, especially is incredible.
I mean, I don't know how much logging they're actually doing. They're probably going through. Probably what they're going through and doing is comparing previous saves.
Yeah.
To this save, because they're really probably not doing that much logging. They're trying to see how it happened, but then they're only looking for, is there an abnormal number of this item in the world and who created it? Because if you look at the ARC logs, there's not a ton of detail. That detail is not in those logs. Nisko says, how can you prevent duping? How could you make a game that doesn't have duping? The issue is you'd have to verify every single, and this is one thing I showed a video, I don't remember how many months ago it was, talking about blockchain in video games.
Yeah.
If you want to know how you would prevent duping in a video game, blockchain is one way that you would do it. It verifies that every item created matches and should have been created. You can't accidentally throw something in and just hand it off and like, here it is. If you added blockchain to a video game, it would prevent duping. You would only create transactions for items that are allowed to be existing. But that creates other load, that creates other, you can't run the servers and stress them because that would start to break down the ability to do this. So it just depends. I mean, is this economy important enough to them to start implementing technology like this? I mean, maybe it is.
The game we looked at,
if this is they're talking like it's a big problem.
The demo we looked at was some type of night MMO
wizard game.
Yeah, it was like some type of wizard night MMO game, and the guy created an item, and it was pretty cool how that all worked. Would you be opposed to me calling this episode blockchain to get our SEO results?
So we can,
I mean, that's why I put this graphic up. I wasn't mocking you. I was just saying that blockchain is probably the biggest buzzword of all buzzwords to be used. So I thought that was fun. But yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so
some sort of self-verification, which is what blockchain is.
Yeah. And so if you were to implement, if this in something that's truly relying on economy like this, which in a way Atlas is, I mean, or ARC is, if you can create a ton of a certain item, it gives you an advantage. You can build bases that you normally wouldn't be able to build. You can dupe things for taming large creatures that you normally wouldn't be able to do. It can give you a huge advantage in a game that's very competitive. I mean, ARC officials are incredibly competitive. So it would be interesting to see if they would try implementing that. I don't know if they really care that much anymore, but I think you'll start seeing games more seriously consider this, that are really, really caring about whether or not something is accurate. Especially if there's something where people are paying real world dollars for items, kind of like what's that game that's never going to be released? That's the spaceship game.
Star Citizen.
Those ships are worth incredible amounts of money.
Thousands of dollars.
And imagine if you could dupe a ship. That would be a problem,
I'd be
right? I
pissed.
mean, I'm sure they put a lot of protections in there, but if somebody were duping ships, that would be a very big, serious hit to their brand, right? So that's where it makes sense to do some sort of verification that wasn't compromisable, would be in a game like that, where an item in game is actually worth thousands of dollars, you know, to that person.
Here's something interesting, Brian. I'm reading through some responses to this tweet. Apparently, this is across Xbox and PC.
So it's a server. It's a issue across their base code.
Well, because this guy says the dupe glitch is only on Xbox, right? If so, anything happened will only be on Xbox. And then this guy says, I've also heard it's also a PC issue. And there's some conversations going back and forth with this guy's got hundreds, tens of thousands of stacks of resources. Can't really tell.
Yeah.
Can't tell what version this is, but somebody's duping something. This is an Xbox. This guy's got 180,000 thatch. Which seems a little unrealistic. So,
and that's the thing is, if you take a look at that, like,
so maybe it's on the, if it's on the Xbox, it's got to be even worse to try to troubleshoot.
But it might be a procedure too. You know, there might be just the way that you're doing something, which then might carry over to other platforms.
Yeah.
Since they're not taking advantage of actual code or something like that, they're just kind of like when we talked about it before. You hit the deer a certain number of times, you look up in the air and you hit once, and then it gives you an extra hit. It might be a procedure that they're doing that's then resulting in something they're not supposed to have.
Yeah. So I can't. Maybe it's only on Xbox. I can't tell.
Well, and they were asking for people to tell them how it was happening, so they probably don't even know quite yet.
I think it may be Xbox only. Twitter replies,
I wonder if they're more limited in how they can monitor that too. So it's probably more difficult.
Issue.
It's probably more difficult for them to go in and find this problem and actually catch the people because it's on a console.
They might end up having to wipe console. That's what I would assume. Like, I think that's
sure
a much more limited.
Thing.
I'm sure it's a much more limited system than they've got on PC.
Yeah.
So there you go. Breaking news. I forgot to play my sounder, but breaking news on the Infection podcasts. So there you go. All right.
Very good. So I think we have Atlas. I guess, we've talked about this company quite a bit. Atlas, the previous one that we talked about was 209.43. They're currently on 210.13. And they've put out a number of fixes, no real content, but mostly just fixes. They did, for 210.13, they've enabled the 2 times harvesting and all that. But it's mostly just a bunch of fixes. So nothing too crazy. So one thing on 209.491, they disabled the bonus rates for the Magic Mythos, and then in 210.13, so just like 3 patches later, they re-enabled them. So I'm not sure if that's maybe for a weekend thing they're doing. I don't know if that's following any kind of a schedule. I haven't played it in a little bit, but other than that, just fixes. Dealing with this last one was pretty much dealing with things for the settlement owners, because they were able to raise claims on PvE, which you're not supposed to be able to do. You can now also place multiple banks on your island. So that's something you couldn't do before. And settlement owners now have the option on claim flags to prevent anyone but company admins from removing items from the tax bank. So you had it to where anybody could go in there and remove things when they weren't supposed to. So that is pretty much Atlas. And I think that we've covered pretty much all the games.
It has, and we're running long here, which is not a problem. I'm just we a good conversation, a good show, Brian. Well, because of this, we've got. Don't worry though, folks. Current Players is not going to get cut short because of rampant news on this podcast. That will never be cut short. So have we covered all the news? We want to roll on to this? All right. Yep. Let's start off Current Players with let's start off with Ark. We were just talking about it. Again, don't know if the PC version's affected. We'll know more next week. Fake news, I know. I'm sorry. Currently playing 41,229, the 24-hour peak. 61,263 with a 70 peak of 72,833. Let's take a look at everybody's favorite, the prettiest, most beautifulest game ever, Rust, 58,560. The 24-hour peak, 80,950, with a 7-day peak, 93,583. They didn't hit their all-time peak again, but we'll see what happens with that. Let's look at PUBG. Big playtest. Currently playing 111,087. The 24-hour peak, 631,679, with a 7-day peak of 679,962. Well, Atlas Brian, 2,522 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 3,600. The 7-day peak, 4,624. It ain't looking too hot. That's maybe why they won't patch the service. And then Xera, currently playing. I mean, it's not great over here either. 13. The 24-hour peak, 55, and the 7-day peak is actually relatively high at 734. So
I bet you most people play on the weekends.
It's definitely a weekend style game. So that is all of the main games that we cover. But Brian, we've got a bonus current player, Storm Chasers, recently released on Steam. Well, it's got more players right now than Xera at 16. The 24-hour peak is 32, and the 7-day peak is not even on this graph. The 7-day
It hasn't
peak.
been out yet.
No, it's been out long enough, but the bar graph is so low. Because somebody's streaming on Twitch with 10,000 viewers and totally effed up the entire bar graph. Because 30 and 10,000 on the scale of the graph is all over the place. So it looks like the 7-day peak is 50 players, I think is the all-time peak is 55, and that was 17 days ago. So I'm looking forward to playing some Storm Chasers over the week. I'll post some updates. Maybe I'll stream it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stream it. Probably next
have
week.
like a kind of like a weather radio sound going in the background.
I've got my weather radio. I've got it all going.
I was saying, like, you need to have it all done up.
Pull up my ham radio, queuing up on the
breaker.
Yeah, that's CB again. Common misconception by people that don't know ham radio. I can pull up my ham radio.
What's your 10, 8, 10, 10?
No, again, that's CB again. That's not a thing. I have an FCC call sign. I've got a license from the FCC to communicate on the 2-meter band. So, nevertheless, Storm Chaser game. Check it out. Great game. Great price. Let's see. You got anything else before current player? Or excuse me. Got anything before tip of the week, Brian? Yes.
No, I think tip of the week's where I go through and either I will give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. Since we have been playing so much League of Legends, I think I would do it for that. So this is tip of the week. Okay, so the mode that we've been playing is Team Fight Tactics, and in this, one thing that you can focus on, because a lot of it is understanding the different characters, the abilities, and for me, it's mainly knowing which character balance to try to have. But they do have a thing where they call them synergies, and these are perks that you get from having certain numbers of specific classes of characters. And so, what you'll want to do as you're this is kind of, they talk about auto chess. You pretty much purchase various character types that then go in and fight each round. And you're kind of building that set of characters to try to beat other players. And so what you do is if you're able to mix and match the right types of players and classes, you can get a buff for that character type. So as an example, if with the assassin, if you go through, it will get a perk that then makes the assassin leap to the farthest enemy and start combat with a critical strike buff. And with 3 assassins, you get a plus 150% critical strike damage buff. And if you get 6 assassins, which is probably pretty close to almost all of the characters out there, you get a 350% character buff or a critical strike buff. So this is something that for each of the different classes, you'll see on the upper left, or actually on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see where you're at and how close you are to having various different buffs. So you may want to then purchase maybe 3 of this type of character and 3 of this type of character so you can pick up 2 of those buffs. So that's one way that beyond just knowing the characters, how you purchase them in what order and the numbers actually make a big difference towards surviving at the end of the game as well due to damage. So that is tip of the week.
Wow. I tell you what, Brian, I'm impressed. That is, you know, in all these years, we've been doing the show since January, February 2015. It's been a long time we've been together. Never in my wildest imaginations did I think that I would be getting a League of Legends tip from Brian Aldridge on the podcast. That's something I wasn't expecting.
Breaking barriers.
Hey, that's what we do here. Breaking glass ceilings on the Infection podcast.
Yeah. We can do anything.
We can. We're podcasters. Right? There's no rules.
Yeah.
Please watch.
All right. So we're ready for do this game giveaway?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go ahead and close this and draw. And congratulations. I'll draw again. Saul, who I called out at the very beginning, who I thought would like this game.
Hey,
he has won. So Saul Greatman, congratulations. And I think this is 2 weeks in a row that he has won. We're going to put a rule in.
We do have a rule. Actually, no, we used to have a rule when it was the same show. That's different. We used to do two a show.
But that was two because we used to do two every show. So I guess now 2 weeks in a row. You have to enter to win.
Yeah, you do. That's fine. We can handle that.
So, but yeah, so congratulations, Saul. I will send you that key inside of Discord. So
yes. And well, I know it's a Monday, I get it, but we're here most Tuesdays, and even if it's not a Tuesday, if it's a Monday or Wednesday, which rarely happens, but it does. This is one of those weeks. We're here at 7 p.m. Eastern on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. If you can't get Twitch where you are, we simulcast on YouTube Live as well. You can watch us on YouTube Live, and then we upload the full VOD, the full video version of the show with all our images and graphics and everything to YouTube after the fact, as well as our audio podcast version. And our YouTube also has annotated, that's not annotated, but it does have timestamps in the description. So you can click through and hear all the news you want to hear and not hear the rest of it. But I would recommend you listen to the whole thing because it's the best. So I'd recommend you listen to the whole thing. So that's all my plugging for today.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. So is there anything else before we roll it out here?
No, sir. Just join us Friday night in Discord, and we'll see what's being played. It'll either be Dead by Daylight or League of Legends, or both. And join for that. Or if you want to play something else, get ready. Oh, that's not true. I have one quick note, Brian. One quick note. This is pretty small group of people that'll probably be interested, but my good buddy Adam, who I've been playing video games online with well before the Days of Infection podcast. He is building, people that are familiar with the old Nickelodeon show, Legends of a Hidden Temple, that game show in the 90s. He's in the process of building a full version of that in Minecraft. So towards the end of July, we are going to get a couple teams together and try to run through that. So if you're interested in that, keep an ear to the Discord. I'll create a channel at some point where you can go in and express your interest. But we're gonna probably do it on a Saturday, and we'll stream it, and it'll just be kind of a fun event to just run around with and screw around in Minecraft. So we'll be doing that. So shout out to Atomizer for making that whole thing happen. He's literally building it with redstone and everything, automatic doors. It's going to be legit. So we're looking forward to that.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, if you want to. Are you ready for me to roll on out?
Go for it.
Good. Okay. If you want to find me at Voice Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. Make sure you go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Join our Discord server, as Nick said, if you want to contribute news as topics, hang out and do the Friday night game nights, and a lot of other stuff that happens in there. We have a link to our Twitch and our YouTube. We also have all the different audio forms that you can select from there. We have a tab on the left if you want to support the show through Humble Bundle or Amazon, and then show notes for each and every episode that we've done up to this point. So if we maybe played a video that you were wondering what it looked like and you're listening to this, you're more than welcome to go check out the show notes for those. So that is it for me.
Brian, thank you for being flexible with this week. I appreciate it as always, and we'll talk Friday night hopefully for Game of the Week, and then as everything's scheduled right now, next Tuesday we'll be back for another live show. But Something could happen. Brian's schedule could change. My schedule could change. Follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast. We literally never tweet unless it's an update about a showtime. On Wednesday or Thursday, I'll tweet out the YouTube version of the show if I remember, which is ridiculous. I should always do that. And then very few other tweets throughout the week. So if you want to get updates on show changes, times, whatever, follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast for that. Brian, as always, thank you very much, and we'll chat with you here soon.
Very good.
Alrighty, folks. Again, if you're here on a Monday, we appreciate it. Little last minute scheduling, but we made it work as always. Well, my name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. If you're a Gab.com user, follow me at Nick, N-I-C-K. I've got a blue check mark because I'm a big deal. Our website is infectionpodcast.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.